Hey guys, how's it going? I think we're live. Trying to. There's no delay today, so just wanted to make sure that it's working before we get into any hands. So fingers crossed. Looks good to me. Looks like everything is working. I think we're live on YouTube and we're live on Twitch. Let me just check Twitch. Yeah, it looks good to me. Okay then. So yeah, I guess we should just dive straight in and see what happens. If you guys have any questions, then just let me know. If you don't, then that's fine. Evening Ed on YouTube. Looking forward to this. Love a good hand history review. Excellent stuff. Okay, I just want to make sure. Let me just pop out the chat and stick it on a different screen. Do the same with Twitch as well. Okay, should be golden. 1 second, guys. They're in 2 ticks. Right, I've got the chat set up. Should be fine. Torres fan on Twitch is the first person in. Well done. Awesome stuff. Okay, so yeah, I think you guys, I presume, can hear me okay. Let's just dive straight into some hands. Okay, so what I've done here is I've got 6 hands to go through. We're going to go for about an hour. If we finish the 6 hands in the hour, then that's it. If we don't get to all 6 hands in the hour, then we just won't finish. But I want to stop about 7 o'clock UK time, which is in about an hour's time. So yeah, as I said, if you guys have any any questions, and just post them in the chat. And yeah, let's kick things off. So we see a min raise here, pretty straightforward defend, check, villain bets around. Yeah, it's half pot, and I think some of you might be looking at this and thinking that's quite a big bet, but I think for 20 bigs, he should have a couple of bet sizes. He should have a small bet size, which might be like a min bet or a 20% pot. And then here, the big bet size would be around half pot, which is what he's gone for. Because that means now that he can bet half pot on the turn and then jam for half pot on the river. So it's quite nice sizing from him, I think, on the flop. But we'll have a look in Pio in a minute, see if it agrees. But yeah, we definitely don't fold here. We have to call. We have second pair. We have a backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. I don't think we want to consider raising. So we just go for the call. On the turn, Jack of Hearts. I'm just going to move this mic over a little bit because I'm looking at a screen over here rather than the main screen today. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Yeah, Jack of Hearts, like a really good card for him. So we want to check that in Pio in a minute, just to confirm that is definitely a good card for him. But like, he's gonna. I think he should be betting this card quite a lot, but he doesn't. He just goes for a check back. So that was a bit confusing. And then we improve to 2 pair on the river. And I just decided to go for the bet here. But the reason why I marked it was I'm just not really sure that, really like what size we're supposed to go and whether or not actually this is a bet. Because when he checks back this turn, that's amazing for him. It just feels like he has quite a lot of showdown value. So I think he can still value bet quite wide on the turn. But yeah, like I just feel like he's probably not going to have a hand he can call us with very often. And then like thinking about our range, like we're going to have a lot of 5x, maybe some 6x. I guess if we have a hand like 8-6, we're going to have a lot of 7x. We can have 6-4 as well. So like basically we've got like 7x, 5x, and 6x. I don't think we get to bet those on the river, right? So we probably, it'd be good to see in the solver to see like, are we supposed to do some checking with this hand because we've got so many of those types of hands on the river. So lots of stuff going on. I think it's it's a pretty interesting spot, I would say. So let's have a look at it in Pio. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. Let's load the hand. 10-7-5. Okay. So I'm just, if you see me like looking over here, it's because I'm just trying to keep an eye on the chat and make sure if you guys have any questions, then it's all good. In fact, I'm just going to move the chat slightly over to this side. I think that's going to work much better. Okay, cool. Let's have, so the question here from Ed on YouTube, can we go bigger on river and rep miss spades targeting non-believing one pair or ace highs? I think possibly. I mean, we bet pretty big, right? In the first place. So let me just show you what happened. I bet 8 bigs and he folds. So yeah, that's what we're looking for. It might be that the big bet size we'll see in a minute is supposed to be a jam rather than just a big bet. So yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, so he goes for the big bet, 7-6 off. I do think this is quite interesting because immediately when we did the review, I said like, okay, we don't want to consider raising or anything like that. We're just going for a call. But you can see that 7-6 off with a spade actually goes for a jam sometimes. So I think that's pretty interesting straight away. That's the first thing that we could learn from today, is that second pair with a spade here goes for a jam. So yeah, we are getting value from flush draws and maybe some weaker like 5x hand like ace 5 for example. So and then we just deny equity to lots of these big cards, right? So that's pretty, I think that's really interesting straight away. It's not something I think that I was even thinking about. I even said like, we're not even considering doing this. We're just going to go for a call. So already, like, I think it's an interesting hand and some interesting insights from the solver. Jack of hearts then on the turn. We don't do any betting. I just think this is a much better card for our opponent. So let's just confirm that. Hopefully you guys can see this. So in position, like you can see all the big cards. Jack, Queen, King, Ace, like incredible for the in-position player and really bad for us. So this is why I said I'm kind of surprised to see the guy check back in position. Let's have a look at his strategy. Yes, I mean, Queen, King, and Ace seems to be almost pure betting. There is some checking going on in Jack, but it's, it's not a lot. I mean, it's Jack of Hearts specifically, 15.81%. So I think this is really interesting that. So I guess we really want to see like what does his check back range look like. So it's going to be sort of some second pairs, I guess, like Queen 10. It's going to be some 7x, which is and 5x and pocket sixes. So like the weaker hands we were talking about, right? The the hands that maybe we could maybe don't even call us on the river, but also like if we have 7-6, then we obviously block these hands. So the kind of hands that we're trying to get value on the river, like we block them, and so that's no good for us. If you just joined the stream, welcome. If you have any questions, fire them in. Streaming on both YouTube and Twitch. We've just got to the point in this hand where we're just discussing the turn and how thought in position was going to go for a bet, but went for a check back, and you can see checks back a little bit of the time here. The river card was the 6 of clubs. So if we just hover over 7-6, so like when you're doing study like this, you can definitely go, okay, yeah, so 7-6 off, like this is what we do with 7-6 off, and really interestingly, it goes for a check, and I went for a big bet, right? So that's first thing that if I was trying to play like super optimally, I've got it wrong and there's a mistake. So you've got to try and work out, well, why is that happening, right? The other thing that I got wrong was bet sizing, because the only bet size that it uses here is all in. So it's like has like 1.3x pot left on the river, and it just goes for a jam. So when it's bluffing, it can get max value. And when it's bluffing, you can get, put the most pressure on the sort of the weak, I would say somewhat capped range from our opponent. Yeah, they're going to have hands like pocket sixes that improved, and maybe a 7-6 occasionally, but probably not betting half pot on the flop. So yeah, I think it's interesting that it goes now for the all in. So I would say 2 mistakes already in this hand, and so a lot of things we can learn from as well. I mean, you could even go say that the flop was a mistake, but it is a mix between calling and raising. So I think that's, I could let myself off that one. But now we're trying to work out, okay, so why are we checking a hand as strong as 2-pair on this river? And I kind of alluded to it earlier on. It's just the fact that we've got so many 5x, so many 7x, so many 6x as well, that, if we just bet our 2-pair and check everything else, we just become, our range is so weak. Our opponents can just, hammer us on the river, and we're not going to want to call with all of those hands, right? So we check and they go for a big bet, let's say. We have to fold our 5x, we have to fold most of our 7x. So we need to have some hands in there that we can, continue. And that's why hands like Jack 7, 10 7, 7 6 are all in there as a check. We get to check jam those hands. Also going to check jam 9 8 for the straight, check jam Ace Jack. So yeah, I think it's really nice to see, and I think the biggest learning point for me in this hand, and hopefully for you guys as well, is to really think about what your overall range looks like on the river. I mean, certainly when you're streaming, like you don't have like loads of time to think, and you've got to try and explain your thought process. And I'm not trying to defend the play. I think, that you can see that it's not the optimal line, and that's what we're going to learn from. But I think, like, just if we think about it, okay, we've got loads of 5x, we've got loads of 7x, we've got loads of 6x, well, not as much as 7x and 5x, but still quite a lot. And we probably don't get to value bet those hands. So therefore we need to check some strong hands in order to go for a check raise. Also, like, his range isn't very strong either, right? Because he should be betting a lot of the time on the turn. So it's somewhat capped, and we also give him a chance to go for a bluff on the river. So Nick on YouTube says, we bet other 2 pairs here though. Yeah, so it's not like immediately, it's not like, okay, we just check all 2 pairs, right? So let's have a look, because you're absolutely right. Let's pull this in. It looks to me like we just don't bet 2-pair when we've got a 7. That's it. If you look at it, like Jack 7, 10 7, 7 6, 7 5, 10 7, Jack 7, and yet we do go with all of the others. So yeah, I think it's Nick on YouTube is like sort of saying this, like, why 10 5 and not 7 6? Looks like we bet all other 2 pairs. Yeah, so let's just go back and have a look at what in positions check back range looks like, right? And it's a lot of 7x, so there's definitely that in play, right? So I guess, like, when we want to bet those hands, we block some of the hands we want to call. So when we have a hand like Jack 10, then we don't block a hand that could potentially call us. Let's just see if that is actually what's going on. Yeah, so like A7, okay, it's not going to call all the time. I mean, it's for a 3rd pair. So, but it completely, it's a good bluff catcher from his point of view. So yeah, I think it'll just come down to the fact that a lot of his check back range is the showdown value with 3rd pair, and we actually want him to call sometimes. Now, in practice, like, our player's going to call off with a 7 here. Like, are they going to bluff? You often talk about, players not finding enough river bluffs. It's more so for like a triple barrel bluff, I would say. Whereas in this situation, I feel like, we can check, and they could definitely find some bluffs with, not these hands, that's a value bet, but like Queen 9, King 9, King 8, just because our range is so sort of like 5x and 7x heavy that they then are trying to get those hands to fold. If you just joined the stream, welcome. If you have any questions, then fire them in. This is one of the first study streams that we've done. I've been streaming every Sunday for quite a while, although I didn't stream for the whole of September because of WCoop. But I streamed for July and August, and then have or the whole of October. So if you're new to the stream, welcome. Hit that follow button. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit like, do all of that cool stuff, and definitely come and check the stream on Sunday as well. I'm going to be streaming the off-peak schedule then as well. As I said, this is one of the first study streams where I've flown solo. We did one with the White Ninja I want to say quite a few weeks ago now, maybe even months. where we did shout out to MacDaddy Trance for the follow on Twitch. I guess I should turn sounds on. I probably missed some others. Oh, there we go. Ryanier501, thanks for the follow. Okay. Yeah, so I did the stream with Ninja and yeah, not Fortnite Ninja, but it's Poker Player Dwight Ninja, and that was really good. But I think this is one of the first ones we've done. I've done on my own. So yeah, I just want to see how you guys enjoy it, and let's go. There's another question. Bluffs that block the straight for villain. So let's go back. So we're bluffing some 8x. I mean, we're bluffing a lot of missed flush draws, I guess, here. Yeah, so if we want to see like the kinds of hands that we're bluffing, we go to nothing. Like if we land on this river with absolutely nothing, we're bluffing it for an all-in size. We're doing the same with king highs and some ace highs as well. And one of you said like, you know, blocking the straight for villain. I don't think he checks back too much 9-8 though, right? Let's just have a quick. Yeah, so 9-8's not. This is in position. Yeah, 9-8's not really getting checked back. I guess not a lot of 9-8 from the flop. Let's just go and have a quick look at that. So 9-8 of spades is the only one that's getting bet high frequency, and others are getting checked back. But you know, if we land there, like he doesn't check it. So. I'm not sure that's too relevant. Villain bluffing 8x because of blocking straights. Yeah, okay, yeah. So the villain can bluff these 8x hands here, knowing that you are less likely to have a straight for checking. Yeah, I think that's good. And we, you know, you can see here that we do check some straights for sure. Okay, so we've done that one. Quite a few. Yeah, quite a few takeaways, I would say. So the flop, we can go for a check jam actually in a GTO world, and river is really important to consider our entire range, and see why the solver is suggesting going for a check. Evolution Retro Gaming on Twitch. All these lines are making certain assumptions on how villain should be playing, not how it's actually playing. Would you agree? I mean, yeah, it's not even assumptions, right? It's what the solver would do. Shout out to Jomar Ribeiro for the follow. Yeah, it's just what the solver would do, right? So if two players are playing optimally, this is how they would play against each other. Now, of course, like you can try and guess if you want to how you think someone's going to go and play. You know, maybe they do a lot more checking with 10x on the turn, and then that leads you to being able to value bet more frequently on the river. But again, like if we use the solver to come up with some ideas and patterns, it really, like I always say this to my students, is that, you know, Pio and any other solver doesn't tell you why it's doing what it's doing, right? You got to try and work it out. And you can see here that we just have so much 7x and 5x here that if we suddenly just like value bet, I don't know, like top pair plus in this spot, then our checking range just becomes really, really weak. So even if you feel like you can exploit your opponent, as soon as you start exploiting your opponent, you open yourself up to being exploited yourself. So yeah, I think it's important to consider both, but I would always go for the you know, learn from what the solver is suggesting, rather than like trying to go overly like to exploit heavy, because you know different players are going to play differently, and I think if you just have a superior strategy in the first place, then you're going to make money anyway. Now sure, like by exploiting you can make more money, but you have to make some very strong assumptions in order to do that. Adijo Spo saying hi all on Twitch. Okay, cool, let's go back to Poker Tracker. So as you see, I bet big, so yeah, should be going for a check there. Okay, so here we decide to go for a call. Marksman on Twitch saying hi, how's it going? We go for a call here. Flop 7-6-3 rainbow, villain checks. Really quickly, guys, what do you think on this board? Do you think this is like a board where out of position should be doing a lot of checking, or should he be doing betting? What do you guys think? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Let's get some interaction going. Whilst you guys are responding to that, James on YouTube says, "Hey Gareth, what's the best way to study and improve at PKOs? They're the only games running on the site I'm on, and I'm new to them." I would say that you want to just run a ton of spots, like use something like HRC or ICMizer to run a ton of spots, like the simple spots where someone shoves and you have like you have a decision to call, or potentially you could rejam, and you just run loads and loads and loads, and you pick up again patterns. There's like, I don't want to sort of, I'm definitely not a PKO expert. There is a PKO strategy book by Dairo Kani that you might want to check out. I think he has a video course as well that you could potentially check out. There are other bounty courses available on the internet. But yeah, I'm not really sort of in a position to talk about those, but I would say that the way that I've tried to get better at PKOs is literally like marking hands, and when you mark hands, you have to take a screenshot of like all the information that you need. So like if you're on excuse me, if you're on PokerStars, it takes all the information for you. So it takes all of the PKO information, like who's got what bounty, right? But if you don't have that, you need to screenshot it. So if you're playing on GG, Party, they're not gonna, it doesn't have the bounty info in the hand history, so you need to take a screenshot. But you also need to know how many players are in the tournament, how many chips there are, then like what the starting stacks were. Obviously you do like starting stacks by number of entrants to see how many chips are in play, and then you can use all of that information within HRC or ICMizer to try to give the answer. But the way that I do it is just marking loads of hands and running them, and it's literally like rinse and repeat, like just going down the gym and doing reps, like bench pressing, like keep on, just do loads and loads and loads. But yeah, definitely check out PKO strategy. I think that will give you a good primer into that. Okay, so let's have a look. So out of position check for sure. One of you said betting, more checking than average board. We should be betting against fish. Would prefer check back 2 as you have a gut shot. Hijack would prefer seeing picture cards like ace 10. If he has a set, he should check call on a safe-ish board. You can't call a check raise. Debatable. A lot of turns that would improve our range. 55 to 60% is checking this flop. Let's have a look. Go over to YouTube. We've got lots of checking. Actually, I think it's 50-50. Pretty neutral board. Okay, cool. Giraffe Path on Twitch. Bet this combo. Fold versus the check raise with low SPR. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we bet small enough, bet like quarter pot, and he raises, like, I don't think we get to fold. We have to continue. Let's see what happened. I checked back and then just drill it on the turn, of course. He checks. And then I went for this big geometric sizing bet. So if we bet this, he calls. There's like 18, 19 in the middle, and we've got 17.5 back. So this is kind of close to geometric, I think. So what I wanted to do is to actually see is this actually a spot where we're supposed to go geometric or not? I wasn't 100% sure. He folds, so it's not that interesting, right? But I want to just go through it for the reasons I just said. So let's 763. Okay, so this is him. 80%, 81% check, and some big betting again. This is geometric sizing for him, which is like half pot. So roughly 23, 24 bigs deep, I think we were. He gets to go for this sizing. But yeah, he did go for the check. And then if we look at our hand, we had the 10-8 of spades, I think. We mix between checking and betting small. We just do loads of small betting. I would just ignore this number. I think it's just noise. And I would just focus on this, going for a small bet. But there aren't many hands in our range here that want to pure bet, right? I mean, you got 6s, 8s, jacks, and then there's lots of checking on lots of other hands. A7, very similar to pocket 8s in terms of sort of absolute value. a 7-6, it looks like it does go for a bet as well. But yeah, lots, a ton of mixing, I would say, on this board. So it's not like we made a mistake, I don't think, here. You can go for a bet, you can go for a check. If we did go for a small bet and we get check raised, just to show you there that we can call with the 10-8 of spades. Okay, so we go check, 9 of hearts, then he does a decent amount of betting here. He went for the check. And then if we just hover over, again, 10-8 of spades. So if I do this, I can use my mouse over here. Hopefully you guys can see that. So there is some big betting going on, but a little, more small betting. So I think this is 40% pot, and this is closer to pot. So I think that's pretty interesting to see. Like, I don't think we don't think we made a mistake, but it's really mixing between the two sizes. And there's a decent amount of small betting here, and I think it's probably going to be the higher EV line as well. Yeah, just about by 0.4 chip. So yeah, that looks all right, I think. I don't know, like, I think it's worth just having a look to see what we're actually supposed to bluff here. The most obvious bluffs before we look at it is going to be hands that like single heart hands, right? So like a hand like King Jack off, we'll have a look in a minute. King Jack off with a heart, right, seems like a pretty reasonable one. You can improve to a king or a jack, but you can also bluff on some heart runouts, and you also block your opponent's check calls or check raises, right? So that's pretty good. Let's just confirm that. Let's go to strategy. Yeah, you can see like a lot more betting going on with the heart, especially the king of hearts. Looks like there's loads of betting, and then jack of hearts a bit less, especially king of clubs, jack of hearts, but still a decent amount, I would say. Yeah, so I think it's good to see that. I think it's not always like it's definitely not a natural bluff, right? To find king jack off with a heart. Is queen jack off doing the same? Yeah, queen jack off with a heart doing a lot of betting. I mean, queen jack off without as well. I just think that having the heart means that you block their continues, but also shout out to Gorilla Biscuits. You block their continues, but also you can bluff some rivers, and you have some overcards where you can improve as well. No, it's nothing better than him having 8-7 here or something, and then you just drill a queen on the river. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Nick on YouTube, I like betting as he should be betting over pairs, and his range is more Broadway heavy. Let's have a quick look. So in a GTO world, he's not supposed to bet his overpairs. Let's have a quick look at equities. So he's an equity disadvantage, somewhat small, but you'll often find this in these spots outside of playing in the blinds, where the equity is going to run a lot closer together. But he's not. Yeah, so I think that he should be going for a check raise reasonably frequently. He just has a lot of hands like these ones. Like if he just starts betting them, then he's just going to be way over bluffing. And they just completely whiff this board. So we can continue on 9-10 of spades. Don't see why we would bet big on turn as he check flop and turn, so he has no interest in the hand. So I think betting small, forcing him to continue more with ace highs and under pairs. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. You can see that there is some big betting. Let's just see what he does check. Like he's still checking aces, queens, a set of nines here, set of sevens, set of sixes. Like that's a decent number of hands for us, because he still has, like, don't forget we went check on the flop. He still has a lot of those weak hands to almost, I don't want to really say protect, because it's not the way the solver's thinking. Like it doesn't think about protection, it thinks about taking the highest EV line with each hand, or highest EV line with range. So I think that he can still have some reasonably strong hands here. We can also fold out ace-x by betting. That's what Evolution says on Twitch. What do you mean? For who? Like who's betting and who's folding ace-x? Gambler Nick, hi, thanks for the content, by the way. You're welcome, Nick. Let's have a look. Nick on YouTube says, oh yeah, you've already said, but yeah, small forcing him to continue more with ace highs and under pairs. Yeah, I think that's good. So yeah, it looks like the small bet, probably is better, and but I think the biggest takeaway for me here was like looking at the unnatural bluffs, right? I think we know that we're supposed to bet straight, right? We know that we, go and bet like pair in a straight draw fairly frequently. We know we take, we bet our best top kicker, top pair, top kicker, and then we try and find some bluffs, right? So it's good to find these unnatural ones, I would say. Cool. So quite a lot again to learn, I think, to take from that. If you just joined the stream, welcome, guys. We're on to hand 2, although we're just about to go on to hand number 3. Let's have a look. When we bet king of heart X and queen of heart X, we fold out his ace highs. Yeah, cool. Like it a lot. Even if we go for a small bet, you can see that some ace jack starts folding, ace 4 and ace deuce. And then if we go for the big geometric sizing, we get more of those hands to now go for a fold. We get some gut shots to fold as well. So yeah, I think it's a really good point. I love that you've made it. I think it's really important to always just be thinking logically about what you're actually trying to achieve. So if you can say, right, I'm going to bet, king jack off with a heart here and the king of hearts here, because I get him to fold some ace X, which is better than my hand, and also I can you block a lot of his continues. So like if you look at the kind of ace X hands that he continues here, poor example, king X hands that he continues here, it's going to be like king X of hearts. I guess most of them should be already betting on the turn, but there's some in here as well. So like having the king of hearts, jack of diamonds or whatever, like is good for that. So that's that's good. Obviously, it's pair plus a flush draw, but you'd block that, which is fantastic. So yeah, just always having those logical reasons, I think is really, really important. So you can, I like when I do some reviews like this, like I always expect a little bit of pushback and kind of like, but no one's playing like this. Like, what's the point of studying GTO? Like, let's just go for max exploit and this, that, and the other. But like, if you don't know what the GTO is supposed to, like, quote unquote, supposed to look like, then we don't know what the sort of the exploit is, right? And the thing I love about solvers is that you get to visualize like what you're actually trying to achieve. So great point from Evolution in the Twitch chat. It's just like, yeah, but we get ace X hands to fold, and you can just literally just prove that straight away. You're like, okay, yeah, all of these ace X hands have to go ahead and fold now, which is fantastic. So you're able to sort of match logic to the solution. And I think that's really important. Great stuff. Okay. Let's move on to the next hand. Oh yeah, this. So all of these hands are from Sunday's stream. This was a bit of a funny one, but let's just go through it. Nilmar raises. He's a reg. We call king 9-3 board. He checks. We bet small. Already not sure if I like this. Gets check call. Shout out to Stewie. I then bluff turn. This is like turning into an absolute car crash of a hand, isn't it? He calls, and on the river, I just decided to check back. I think I almost feel like if we've got this far, we probably just need to pull the trigger and try and get like 10s, jacks, queens, 9x hands to fold. So yeah, I think flop, I'm not sure. We'll see in a minute. Maybe it's a mix. Turn doesn't seem like a bet, and river is probably more of a bet than a check. We are still beating some hands. I guess like ace X of spades that floats flop. We only bet small. We beat like queen jack, queen 10, jack 10, all of spades. We did go for a pretty bit sizable bet on the turn. So it's more those combo draws, I think. But I feel like some of those might even just check jam turn. So really now we're just trying to get like 9x of spades to fold. I don't think a king is going to fold. Just having said all of that, like I just said jam. Like this is probably too much to jam. But bluffing river seems reasonable. Maybe we should jam. Like, if he has a hand like 10-9 of spades, it's a really tough call on the river. Stewie on Twitch saying, what's up? I am late, lol. Well, welcome. Class is in session. Yeah, let's see what happens. We check back and win. This is one of those hands where it looks great when you win, but when on review, and this is why I marked it, I really wasn't sure that I played the hand very well at all. And it's really important that you don't just go, well, I won the hand, so therefore I'm best poker player in the world. Move on. Like it's I don't think it's very good. So we'll see in a minute. Nick on YouTube, got to fire the third barrel with this line. Yeah. Evolution. You may well get him to overfold here as you don't have many natural bluffs. Yeah, I think I think it's a pretty good spot. So we should probably check that to see if we can bluff if we end up, betting turn. But feels a bit, I wasn't happy at all. 1 second. King 9-3 rainbow. Let's pull that up. So he checks 55%, does some big betting and some small betting. Let's have a look at twos then. What combo did we have? 2 of clubs, 2 of spades. 2 of clubs, 2 of spades. Does a bit of everything. So it doesn't look like it's massively wrong to go for a small bet, but seems to be a lot more big betting with twos, but it's a mix of everything. I don't think we're probably not making a huge mistake here. Like, we're certainly not losing a lot of EV. But I think that if we bet this hand all the time and we get check raised, like, we can't continue, right? So if we're playing against a good opponent who's capable of check raising in this spot, we can't continue. Let's just check that. Yeah, so we're supposed to just fold pretty much all the time. So yeah, I'm not sure I like the bet. Like, certainly not all the time. And maybe we can mix in some bigger betting. We'd be going for these big bets. Again, like, this is why I love using the solver, because you can actually see like what you're actually trying to target to fold, right? So we just get some, ace-x hands to fold, even some with the backdoor flush draw. With the big bet, I think if we go for a small bet, a lot of those hands will continue. Shout out to Solid on Twitch for the follow. But yeah, we go for the big bet. Like, these are all the hands we get to fold, and like folding out 2 overcards is good, but then we're just like opening ourselves up massively for a check raise where we can't continue, and the same goes for the small bet as well. So yeah, like it seems okay, but just got to be really careful in that spot. Okay, so turn was the 5 of spades. So let's see. Okay, he doesn't do any betting here. Okay, good. Okay, so we're not well. There's more betting happening when you've got the deuce of spades. We had the deuce of spades, right? Deuce of spades, deuce of clubs. So there's a bit of big betting, and it's actually the overbet that it prefers, like 1.2x pot, which would then allow us to think to jam for 1.2x pot on the river. So yeah, but like, it's just not happening that often. 13% of the time, like, it's, I think we just go for a check rather than trying to like miraculously find a bluff or a bet here 13% of the time. I think I don't think it's good. So what are we actually bluffing then? Like, if this was a bad hand to bluff, or I keep saying bluff, but bad hand to bet, what hands are we going for as a bluff? So we got some combo draws in here, but also just the gut shots seem reasonable. Queen jack and queen 10, jack 10 of spades. There's jack 10. The other suits goes for a check. Jack 8 betting quite a lot, but we just don't have much of that in the first place. For flatting pre-flop, so that's good to see. So mainly, I guess it's mainly just the flush draws. We're betting a lot of flush draws. I mean, decent amount of checking. I guess it's more like 9x, so some showdown value and backdoor. So like, these hands we may not have even bet on the flop, right? So then on the turn, we actually just go for a check back with these hands after we've gone for a bet. If we do land there. A lot of King X. I mean, King X has just got so much equity, right? So you can see here just so much equity that we want to push that and bet with it. And then when we've got the nut flush draw, we go for a bet. And then ace queen, presumably here, because we block some of the hands we want to call, right? Like queen jack, queen 10 of spades. But then maybe you could say the same thing with these ones. So not 100% sure on why that's happening. But yeah, that's it's good to see. Are we like? What do you guys think? Do you think when we get trying to find some sort of unnatural bluffs now, we go for like ace-x with a spade? Shout out to Lobo Poker for the follow. Do we find the ace-x? Do you reckon? Let's have a look. There's a decent amount of ace-x, not even just with a spade, but a lot more betting with a spade. So again, that's sort of the idea of blocking your opponent's floats from the flop that then get to continue on this turn card. I think that's pretty interesting, pretty cool to see. And then there's some decent number of ace-x hands here to bet. Giraffe Path on Twitch. Out of position usually capped to worse than top pair with flop action. If we were to node lock how range looks, I think 2-2 bluffs way higher frequency. I think that's reasonable. Yep, it's not something I've done here to node lock, but I think it's definitely something that we should look to do, and you guys should do if you're running these sims and you want to see like how you think population is playing. My only sort of somewhat concern with that is like you're playing a guessing game, right? You're trying to guess how you think this player is playing, and some people are not going to play like that at all. So yeah, I think it's worth just thinking about that. But yeah, do we think that he's definitely capped a worse than top pair? I'm not sure. Like, because like, you know, let's look, all of these hands go for a check, and then when we go for a small bet, they all go for a call. So like some of these hands have improved to 2 pair, king 5 for example. Pocket kings for example is still better than top pair. So I don't think he's like massively capped. But if you think that like population would always just bet a king, then for sure. But if you're playing against a good opponent, I don't think they're going to be doing that. But good comment. I like it. Okay, Nick on YouTube. Asex still has showdown. Yeah, so like some of these ace queen looks like they're going for a check back. Yeah, potentially for that reason. Queen of spades looks like it's betting, and you can see like the spades, you know, definitely preferring betting with a spade than without, which is cool. We went for the bet. He calls, so he has a decent number of 9x hands here. Some under pairs we just talked about. You know, we could try and get these hands to fold. 10s looks like it's folding quite a lot. 8, 7s, and 6s folds. Decent number of king x, and as I said, 9x as well. And then the river was the 3 of clubs. Oops, let's go back. 3 of clubs. He checks, and you can see that we don't land on this river with any 2s at all because we shouldn't be betting them on the turn. But if we do somehow, then you can see here that it does go for the jam for almost 2x pot. So it's not completely unrealistic, but we were all talking, we were talking about doing that, and some suggestions in the chat about bluffing this river card. And again, like if we look at it, we get to fold out some ace. Well, we're ahead of ace highs. We get to fold queens, jacks, 10s. We get to fold basically all the 9x hands that isn't king 9. And then we actually get to fold out some weak king x hands here as well, even up to king jack too, presumably because our bluffs are going to include some jack x hands in this spot. So yeah, I think that's a fascinating hand. I think I didn't play it very well, and I think in hindsight we either check flop or then turn we just go for a check back and just try to realize, like as in, get to showdown as cheaply as possible. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So this is a pretty simple hand, I would say. The river gets interesting, but I think it's important to mark these hands, like just to keep yourself sharp. There's a book called, no, I'm gonna forget it now, but it's by Ryan Holiday, and there's a bit in it where it talks about sweeping the floor. If you guys can tell me what book it is, but basically, even if you think that you've mastered something, and you still need to be constantly like making sure that you're sweeping the floor and keeping things up to date and keeping things fresh, basically, is the idea. So what do we think here, guys? Let's do some more interaction with you guys. King 9-5 board. We're playing 23 bigs effective, well, 25 bigs before the raise. What do you guys want to do here? Is it, are we betting a lot? Are we checking? Are we doing a mix? What do you guys reckon? Okay, Tony on Twitch saying, check if we had a diamond. I'll check. I think you're saying if we had a diamond, then bet. Okay. Any advances on Tony's suggestion? APK on Twitch saying missed the start of it. Okay, so we opened from low jack for 25 bigs. Big blind defended. He checks. What do we do on this flop? Marksman saying bet 25%. Giraffe Path saying tricky one. Okay. So I think that we just get to bet very, very frequently here. I think it's unlikely he has kings or nines, which we can definitely have. And he just has a lot of hands that can't continue on this to a bet. Now, the one thing that should sort of help us in terms of working out whether or not we have some big bets here. So one of you just said bet small. I think it's usually pretty good. I think as a sort of blanket statement, you know, I'm not saying that I've solved Hold'em with what I'm about to say. And yeah, Evolution on Twitch saying ego is the enemy. I think it could well be ego is the enemy with sweeping the floor. I think you could be right about that. When you're looking at a flop, the more hands that your opponent can continue with that you want to get value from, the more likely you are to have some big bets. So what I mean by that is if there's a flush draw out there and there's like all sorts of gut shots, then you probably want to mix in some big betting, right? So what I like to do, hopefully you can see my mouse here, is like look at the cards on the board, right? Is the king and the 9 connected? Well, yeah. So we've got Jack 10, Queen 10, Queen, the other one, Queen Jack. Was it Queen Jack, Queen 10, Jack 10, right? Connected. 9 and the 5 are connected. So all the gut shots there: 8, 7, 7, 6, 8, 6. Then you've got the flush draws, and then there'll be some hands like, you know, ace high with a diamond or something, potentially. So yeah, there's just a lot of hands that you want to get value from. So what I imagine, and I haven't looked at any of these sims. I literally just ran them, and then I wanted to go fresh into them because I wanted to show you guys how I study. I didn't want to, like, you know, spoil it or anything like that. But these are my thoughts, you know, in game when I'm thinking in this situation. So, you know, a king 9 deuce no flush draw board, it's a lot more dry, right? A lot drier, I think, is what we'd probably say. So we would just go like a lot more for a small bet, or king 8 deuce is the, you know, as dry as we can get it. So we do a lot of small betting on that board. But this one, I think we're going to see some big betting. So the key takeaway here is to kind of look at the sort of the connectedness of the board. Are the top and middle cards connected? Are the middle and the bottom card connected? You're often going to see some more big bets in that situation. So I went for half pot, which looks a little bit on the small side, I would say. If we want a big bet here, you could use geometric sizing here. I wonder if I can show you this nifty tool. Hopefully this works. Pull this over. So when I'm studying, I want to see like the effective stack size 22.67, pot size is 5.7. So geometric sizing 54. We went for 50. I mean, it's not too far off. But the bet size to go here would be 307. I think I set the sim up to run geometric sizing. So that's, yeah, it's going to be, yeah, probably use this bet sizing rather than the one that I chose. But yeah, so we went this size. We can go a little bit bigger, but it's not too much. 9 of clubs, pretty dreadful card for us. He's going to have a lot of 9x. He should probably do quite a lot of leading here with, you know, his value hands and his bluffs, but he doesn't. He goes for a check. 4 of clubs on the river. He now goes for half pot. This one's interesting, really, really interesting. What are you guys doing on this river? Is anyone calling, or are you all just folding? Okay, so yeah, some good comments. It really depends on what kind of player Big Blind is. Yeah, we've got some votes for fold. We've got some votes for raise. We call with the odds, I think. Decky saying on Twitch, no one ever bluffs. I mean, yeah, I think that's fair. I think the lower you play, the less likely this is to be a good call. I think the higher you play, the more you probably have to call here. But again, like let's check it in the solver, because if the solver folds, then I would imagine it's, you know, it's not like population. I mean, population rarely finds more bluffs than the solver, right? There are some situations where that happens, but I don't think this is going to be one of them. Maybe, you know, straight draw missed, all the straight draws missed, all the flush draws missed. Like, it's quite a lot. I mean, I know we block 8-7, 8-6, stuff like that, but then we don't block diamonds and we don't block Jack 10, Queen 10, stuff like that. Nick on YouTube wants to call because we block 0 bluffs. Let's have a look at some of the other ones. Evolution is calling. Grand Krabson, probably butchered that. I mean, you only win against a bluff, and his big blind range hits the board better. Yeah, but there are some bluffs, right? We can, you know, earlier on I was saying, like, okay, just make sure that you always have a reason for doing whatever you want to do. So if you could say, okay, I'm going to call here because there's just so many draws missed. Like, as I said, loads of gut shots, loads of flush draws. They all missed, right? So, yeah, there's just so much to call there's so much that you beat. Sure, he can have a value bet here. Of course he can. But you know, then he can also be bluffing. Let's look at some of these comments. So Marksman, I reckon his range suits this board way too much. Evolution, you pointed out that there are lots of draws on this flop, so I'd call the river as all these draws brick. Absolutely, I like it. Check calls flop, check turn, bets half pot. He calls with 9x, king x. He may have some flush draws. You're running into too many landmines, but at the same time, ace x may be ahead here. Yeah, I think so. I wonder if like ace 10 and ace jack would be worse calls than this hand. I know that. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because like the 8 does block 8-6 and 8-7, but in an ace jack, for example, would block jack 10 and queen jack. Stewie, if you can call, you can raise. Can we? What? Why would we raise? That would be, I don't know. Like, are we raising for value, or are we raising? Because if we have a bluff catcher, we can't raise. I don't think that's something we can do. Shout out to Blue Devil for the follow on Twitch. Enlightenment Seeker on YouTube. The 8 is not a great card, but this could still be a call some percentage of the time. Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think it is going to be a call, but yeah, I folded in game because, you know, I don't know what the buy-in on this tournament was. I don't think it's a $44 bounty builder, just to show you guys. So yeah, I mean, that's gonna play, you know, he's gonna have more bluffs than, say, the big 11, but yeah, I'm still not sure. Diego on YouTube saying 9x never bets this size, in my opinion, always goes for big bets. Yes, it gets like that greedy sizing, and for the king x it's a weird size as well, so I think I'd call here. Yeah, I think this is good. Jakov on YouTube, I think he's betting king x a third, and I think 9x should size up, so I would call. Yeah, always ready to grind. Thanks for the follow on Twitch. Yeah, so I think we want to make sure the flop is, you know, as I said, like, are there some big bets on this board for the reasons I gave earlier on, and also is the river a call? So let's find out. Okay, so 3 different betting options. I mean, there's a jam in there, but it's not happening, not being used. There's a little bit of checking, but mainly we're just betting, and I would just bet a lot of these. Like, yeah, I wouldn't do much checking here at all. I think you can just, you know, I don't want to say ignore it, but, you know, there's just, you can see there's just a lot of betting going on. So we've got the small size, which is quarter pot here, and you've got this geometric sizing, which, you know, I showed you in that little Google sheet. So there is actually some big betting going on here, and, you know, for the reasons that I gave, right? Because if I just pull up Range Explorer, 4 out straight draws, this is in position, right? This is out of position. So, like, it's a big chunk, 85 combos, 11% of their range, these hands that we can, we can target. And I'm not sure that even if we bet half pot, how many of those, or geometric sizing, how many of those actually want to continue, right? So you can see that, like, 7-6 without a diamond suddenly starts to fold. So I think it's one of those sort of, like, I would almost say counterintuitive spots that where, you know, let's say you've got ace king or aces on this board. Let's just confirm they go for the big size. Yeah, aces. ace is a good example. Unblocking king X and everything else is like, it's kind of counterintuitive when you're like, yeah, but why don't we want a gut shot to continue here? Like, it's only got 4 outs. The problem is that if one of those outs comes in, we lose an absolute pile, because it's not like, on a 6, 7, or 8 that we don't go broke with aces, right? It'd have to be a diamond, and then the run out would just have to be, just get progressively worse in order for us to want to start thinking about folding aces, because there's just so many hands that we can get value from. So I do think this is one of those sort of surprising things potentially from the solver, where we, where it, kind of counterintuitive, like, why don't we want these hands to continue? But you can see that, we did choose half pot, which is slightly smaller than this, but yeah, I think it's interesting that some of these gut shots start folding. The top end, even like Queen 10 without a diamond, sometimes folds. So I think it's good to see. Let's have a look at some of these comments. Twitch. I feel like this is from Poker Felix. I feel like he shouldn't use a half pot sizing on the river. Caps himself to King X and 9X with half pot and therefore call. About fold to third pot, assuming he has 4X and 5X for value too. Yeah, I'm not sure how often he's going to value bet a 4 or a 5. Giraffe Path, I think he needs 2 sizings for the river for sure. Half pot seems awful. It was one of the one sizes I gave him. I gave him 20% for a block, 50% and 100%. So we'll see which one it likes. APK, which solver is this, and would you recommend it? It's Pio Solver, 100%. I would recommend it. I think it's brilliant. And if you're concerned that, like, you're playing at a level where you're not coming up against players who are playing anywhere close to optimally, which is, most of us, then use it for the things that I've already talked about, like, finding patterns, being able to visualize what ranges look like going into different streets. I think it's really, really useful. On YouTube then, Yakov is saying that he agrees with Diego about 9X never bets this size, always goes for the big bet, and the King X is a weird size as well, so he thinks we go for the call. Cool. So yeah, already like quite a lot to take away from this. Marksman just saying, make sure you get loads of RAM for your PC though, because it needs it to solve stuff. Can't remember how much. Yeah, so like the bigger the tree, so like the more bet sizes you choose and the wider the ranges, the more RAM or memory you're going to need on your computer. So if you try and do like blind versus blind limped pots, I guess stack size as well. If you do like 100 big blind limped pot, blind versus blind, you're going to need a ton of RAM, probably like 64 gig if you do like, a couple of bet sizes on each street. Okay, so he did go for a call. The turn was a 9 of clubs. And does he do lots of leading? Yes, absolutely. Just a much better card for him. Let's have a look at equities. So you can see like a 9 is just an amazing card for him. A 5 is an amazing card. So pairing the board, he just has more 9X and 5X, and he just gets to do a lot of betting on those cards. Ace is like an amazing card for us. After we bet big, let's just go back here, because this is something I've been talking about in my Game Changer group coaching program. I'll talk about that in a little while. It's that, when we go for this big size, like, think about the kind of hands that continue. Like, look at all these ace-X hands that start folding, which just means that on an ace turn, it's like go time, right? We just get to do a ton of betting. Our equities is going to be amazing. So definitely something to look out for. And if you're interested in joining MTT Game Changer, check out mttpokerschool.com/Game Changer for more info. Something that someone highlighted to me the other day was that there are essentially 2 different options for accessing premium training content from me, right? You can join Game Changer and through that get access to part of the course, depending on which tier you sign up to. But you can also purchase the modules separately. Like, so if you want to just focus on turn play, then you just buy the module on turn play. If you feel like, okay, I'm really good pre-flop, I'm really good on the flop, but turn I haven't got a clue, then you can just buy the module on its own. If you want to buy the whole course, you can. It's bundled together for a big discount. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight those two options. I'm going to post the links now, so you can see what it looks like. So I posted it onto Twitch and to YouTube. So that's Game Changer, which is a group coaching program where you can attend webinars every single week. We have them on a Monday, 7 p.m. UK time, and after that we have a home game. So it's a real sort of great sort of community feel. And what I do every single month is take one topic. So next month, November, we're going to be looking at turn strategy out of position. So like, you've defended the big blind, in position bets, you call, then you get to the turn, and we're going to be doing a lot of stuff like this, like which are going to be the good turn cards to go ahead and bet. Shout out to Ian Leal for the follow on Twitch. Which turn cards are going to be good to bet, and what do we do versus a double barrel, right? So preparing for that, so we know exactly what we should be doing. I think that's really important to understand. So if you're interested in joining the group, check out Game Changer. If you want to just access the course on its own and just buy modules separately, it's classroom.mttpokerschool.com. So I'm going to post that link in the chat now as well. And yeah, feel free to check that out. And whilst you do that, I'm going to carry on with this. So he ended up checking. Shout out to who just followed there, Mila2402. Thanks for the follow on Twitch. He did check, and I think it's pretty interesting to see what we did, because we went for the check back, and you can see there's actually quite a lot of betting going on here. So again, like, PioSolver doesn't tell you why it's doing what it's doing. You've got to try and work it out. And again, like we can say, okay, we bet, and let's see what's going on here. Like, what are we actually trying to achieve? So we can actually get some ace jacks to fold. So we're getting better hands to fold. Ace 10 doesn't look like it continues much from the flop. So there's not a huge number of ace-x that we're getting to fold in this spot, but I think the biggest one is probably 5x, right? So if we go down here, 5-4 starts folding, 5-3, 5 deuce, 5-4 off, 5-3 off, 6-5, 7-5, 8-5, not looking too good anymore. So yeah, I can see that even if we go for a small bet, some of those hands have to fold, and I guess we then block some continues. I mean, maybe we're even blocking some folds here as well, like 8-7 of clubs, 8-6 clubs, stuff like that. So yeah, interesting to see. But yeah, again, like we do block some 8-5 as well, 8-5 of clubs. Maybe some 8-5 off seems to be calling reasonably with the 8 clubs. So yeah, we block some calls, and we get some better hands to fold. So that seems pretty good. Good reason to go ahead and bet. Not happening all the time, but it seems to be happening quite a lot. And so I think that's interesting, because I didn't find it. So, something for me to note. And that's the purpose of this review. Like, it's not just me to like go through these hands and be like, okay, this is what I think. It's for me to like highlight areas of my own game where I want to improve, and really sort of walk you through the process, because it's sort of like a never-ending process of improvement. And that's what I was trying to get to on Sunday's stream, is how important it is to sort of trust in the process. And if things don't go so well, like, make sure that you still do your reviews after the session, or you do them the next day before you play next, or whatever. So yeah, really important to trust in the process. NGB Azuzero, does Pio like betting turn a lot because it assumed William would lead a 9 a lot, which they may not at low stakes? Yeah, okay, so this is a fantastic point, and this is where we might want to node lock the fact that some players are not going to lead as frequently as this. I think that's really fair. I think it's a fantastic point, actually, and something that we should definitely consider when we're thinking about strategies. There was a hand that I posted on YouTube. I'm not just doing this because it's branded up on the t-shirt, but I'm just getting really warm under these lights, honest. There was a hand on YouTube that someone questioned. They were like, I don't think you can jam your full house on the river because you're only ever getting called by a 7. And I think it was a really interesting point. It was on the highlights video that just went out today. So it's on youtube.com/MTT Poker School. It's a Queen 6 hand towards the end of the video. And I think that in a GTO world, he's supposed to lead his better full houses, right? So the board was Jack 7, 6, 6, 7, and blind versus blind, and we jammed river with the 6, Queen 6. So yeah, and I think that he's supposed to, like, out of position, supposed to lead a lot of 7x there, right? But as soon as we tell the solver that he can't donk, right? He can't donk those 7x hands on the river, we then can't bet the lower full house. So this is an absolutely spot on point from NGB. You've got to be really, really careful with that. And so we, potentially, I would say like there's probably not enough here for us to want to definitely go for a bet all the time. We just don't get enough better hands to fold, I would say. And he can also have a decent chunk of 9x. I mean, his checking range is still going to include some of these 9x. But yeah, I think it's a really, really good point. I really love it. Nick on YouTube, can we not get the 5x to fold on the river anyways? Potentially, yeah. Let's go through the hand until the end, and then we can see. So the river, I said I wanted to finish at 7, but I think we should wrap. We should at least finish this. We should finish this hand. 4 of clubs then on the river. So half pot is this size here, and I think 1 or 2 of you said needs to have like 2 bet sizes on the river, right? And so it looks like the block, which is 20% pot, and a jam, which is like 7, 6, 7, 8, something like that. Looks to be the 2 bet sizes. Half pots use a little bit of the time, but you can see those two, the opposite ends of the spectrum, I guess, going are the ones that are used most frequently. So I think that was really well worked out by a few of you in the chat. So great stuff. But he did go for this half pot. What kind of hands bet for half pot? Okay, the nuts and king 4 and some other king x hands most frequently, but then there'll be some bluffs in here as well. Like, yeah, I'm not sure. Queen 4 of diamonds, really? Going for a bet for the half pot size? Yeah, not 100% sure. I guess as well, like, I was just thinking that we haven't looked at it yet, but when he bets half pot, like, should we call with ace 8? But we have to factor in what NGB was saying, that he might not be leading all 9x on the turn, which means that he has a higher proportion of them on the river. But we also need to factor in that he's gone for this half pot size, and I think people like to get really greedy by going for a bigger bet. So I think that's fair. Okay, so he goes for the half pot, and ace 8 of clubs looks like it's a call quite a lot of the time. Let's have a look at the EV. So it's not making a lot, is it? It's making 3.8 chips, and the pot is 1,773. So I would say you don't really need to call this very often in a tournament. Like, this is for chips, right? There's no ICM here. If we did it for ICM, we might see that it starts folding because it's making hardly any money, and losing these chips here is actually quite valuable. But yeah, for chips, it's supposed to be a call, but he has to be bluffing. He has to have the right frequency of hands. So if he doesn't lead his 9x on the turn, then he has more of them on the river. I would say that we end up starting to fold more frequently because of that. But if you're reading into his sizing, I would say that maybe he has more bluffs because he's gone for this half pot size rather than greedy sizing, and maybe he could have some king x, but it's tough to say for sure. So let's just go back here. Poker Felix Shep on Twitch. How often does 4x and 5x block river? Looks like he's blocking river here a ton of the time, which is probably why there's so much blocking, right? Being used. 58% sizing. 20% sizing. This block sizing used to be able to block these hands. I think one of you said like, betting 5x and 4x on the river, and I questioned that, and I think I was wrong to say that, because you can see it's going for this block sizing. I think that for the half pot sizing, he's not going to be going for that. I don't think there's any. Yeah, there's nothing in there where he's going to be using the half pot sizing to bet a 5x or a 4x. So I think it's I think it's still reasonable what I said, but I'm not looking to defend it. Like, you can see that there's a ton of blocking going on. So 5x and 4x are being bet just for a small size. 1010 T1, thanks for the follow on Twitch. And okay, so we wanted to know, there was a question earlier on from Nick on YouTube, says, can we not get 5x to fold on the river? So let's say we bet 792, and I guess, like, again, if he's not finding those blocks, we don't know if he can definitely fold them, but looks like ace 5's not even folding at all, right? Sometimes even just going for a check raise. So I would say I don't think we get on this run out, I'm not sure we get these 5x hands to fold. I guess if we rip, they start folding, right? Yeah, they fold a lot more frequently if we rip. But if we go like small size, it's the smallest size I gave was for 40% pot, which is the smallest I would ever consider going at shallower stack depths in position. Really, you just want to like the smallest bet to be half pot, because we don't want to be blocking in position. Whole idea about blocking is so that when you're out of position, blocking might make more money than checking. Whereas when you're in position, you might as well just go for a check back. Marksman, shout out to you. Thanks for the donation. Awesome stream. I appreciate that. You are a legend. So yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought, but thanks for the donation. Yeah, what was I going to say? So yeah, I don't think we get some 5x to fold on this run out, but they shouldn't have too many of them because they should be blocking them on the river. So, and I would say like it's narrower part of his range, right? To try to get to fold. Grinder X, thanks for the follow on Twitch. So yeah, so that's that was a really fascinating hand, I think. There is some big betting going on the flop from us, and you can see our hand, maybe goes for the small bet more frequently. I know that a lot of you said, it's a small bet spot, but I think it's not. Like, because there's a flush draw and the king and 9 are connected and 9 and the 5 are connected, definitely be looking out for those, when it comes to c-betting in position versus the big blind, because the out of position player is just going to have all of those gut shots that we talked about before, so you get more value, and you can actually get some of them to fold straight away and deny equity in that sense. And then turn could be a bet, but we talked about why perhaps we shouldn't if out of position is not going to bet enough 9x himself or bet enough on the turn in the first place. And then river, I think, is very, very close. I think if Pio, again, like we can say like, okay, I don't think people are bluffing enough, certainly not playing more aggressively than Pio, but if they're like, if we don't allow donk bets on the turn, it'd be very interesting to see how this hand changed, right? Because then they would be forced to still have 9x in their range for the river, where they then have a lot more value bets, I would say. So I think it's really, really interesting. Giraffe Path on Twitch saying, what diamond combos on the river likes the big size? Let's see here. Let's go to nothing. The weakest ones. So I guess the ones where he doesn't block too many of our folds. So like Queen 10 of diamonds doesn't want to bet. It just blocks too many of the hands he's trying to fold, whereas the deuce and the 3, you can see that just getting piled in here, just completely unblocking a lot of our opponent's folds. I think that's really, really important to see, and it's a great question. Shout out to you. Yeah, so I think I'm never really a fan of like looking at the EV on Pio and seeing 3.8 call and going, do you know what, I'm going to call here like as much as Pio's saying, because as I think at least one of you today has said, like it's population's not playing like Pio, right? So we need to sort of factor that in. So I think this would be a good one to run and not allow donk bets, or to reduce the number of turn leads to see how things change on the river. It might be that because the thing is, if you suddenly take donks out, then his river strategy could be completely different, and maybe he starts checking more frequently, and therefore we just get to check back or something. So everything changes. Like the solver sort of adjusts and compensates for, an inferior strategy, something that doesn't believe is the right thing to do. So yeah, we've got to factor that in as well. And suddenly, like maybe population plays completely different, and we're going back and forth and sort of this circular thinking. Evolution on Twitch. In my experience, population overbluff rivers when hero checks back on the turn, especially half pot sizing. Okay, if that's your belief, then I think it's good to go for a call. But as I said, like the EV on a call is not great here, and in a sort of higher ICM pressure situation, maybe we look to go for more of a fold, and because those chips are just worth more in our stack than anywhere else. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up. I only wanted to do sort of an hour. We've done an hour and 15. Just wanted to see what you guys thought of doing this kind of stream. Usually I'm streaming on a Sunday and doing the off-peak schedule on a Sunday, sort of low mid-stakes MTTs. If you really like this, then just put a comment in the chat or on YouTube or wherever you're watching this and let me know, because it could be a regular thing. As I said, I have the Sunday streams. Shout out to Wisa for the follow on Twitch. Have the Sunday streams. They're going to continue, start at 10 a.m. UK time. And then we could do Thursday evenings, 6 till 7 UK time. Maybe we could go longer next time. I think, I could go longer, but I have another obligation. So, not going to stick around now. But yeah, let me know, guys, because it'd be really helpful feedback. If you like it, tell me. If you don't, tell me something that could be better about it. And if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. If you want to, you can subscribe on Twitch. Definitely hit that follow button so you get notified next time I go live. Hit the little bell button once you've subscribed on YouTube so you know when we go live. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, and if you're interested, check out Game Changer or the course. So there's two options. As I said, you can go to mttpokerschool.com/game changer for group coaching, and you can go to classroom.mttpokerschool.com for the course. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me, support@mttpokerschool.com, or you can find me on social media on Instagram or Twitter, MTT Poker School on there. Cool. Good stuff. And yeah, so there's some comments. NGB00, thanks for the follow. Thanks for your contribution as well. And thanks everyone that contributed. I think you guys are brilliant, and it'd be great to make this more of a regular thing. I think it's really good. Charty D, thank you for the follow. And let's wrap things up. Take care, guys. I will see you on Sunday. Have a great few days. Ciao.